All right. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've recorded anything. I've been doing some work on the power hammer, and I just want to show you guys where I'm at and where we're going next. So this is where we're at. I've got the main frame, bottom anvil, there's the top setup. It's just clamped down to my table right now. I went ahead and put 4 sets of skateboard wheels on mine. I feel like it gives it a lot more stability on that ram, and I like the way it turned out. I think it's going to work great. I'm going to have to come in here and cut this out because I didn't realize my once I weld this this piece of railroad track on there, I've got to have clearance for that it's got to come up. It's gonna probably come clear up to here when it's all the way up. So I've got to have clearance so it can make it through that bottom opening, because it's going to be down here. So I've got to do that. I've got some pieces of 1-inch angle that I'm going to weld on here, and that'll be under this bottom plate. This bottom plate will mount on that, and I'll probably have some gussets coming off that to reinforce it as well. I've got some 1.5-inch angle, 1.5-inch, 1/4-inch thick. That's going to go up here for the top plate to mount to, and I'm going to weld the bottom plate to that angle, but this one's going to be drilled with bolts going through it so that top plate's removable, so that I can remove that plate to replace or rebuild my air cylinders. I've got to cut this out on the back right here. You can see I've got to cut that out so that I have clearance for my air fittings, my quick blow off valves. Right now, the way it is, they're going to be right up against that plate with no room for a muffler. So I've got to cut that out, and then I've got to weld my top plate on, and let's get to it. had to do some funky stuff to get everything aligned. I wanted everything to be aligned just right, so I've for now clamped the bottom anvil in place on the hammer, and I got some wedges in there to keep that keep the hammer or the piston, whatever you want to call it, perfectly lined up vertically. Got all my guides adjusted to it, and then what I'm going to do is go ahead and tack that top anvil in place to the hammer, and get it tacked in place. I'm going to remove the hammer and weld that on out here on the bench, and I've still got to get my angle iron welded in place to mount this top bracket, and then we're getting there. It's almost there. I've got some gussets to build. I'm gonna have to, I think I want to do a few gussets on here just to beef everything up. I've still got to put my crossbar up on the top, but it's coming along pretty nice. Well, I realized my top plate was on crooked. My ram wouldn't go straight up and down like I wanted it to, so I started to cut it off. I was going to weld it back on straight, but I actually screwed up and I broke it. Luckily, I have more railroad track, but it's just going to take a lot more time and a lot more elbow grease than I wanted. So I'm going to have to make another piece to put on there, and yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, even though I screwed up on the cap, I've got a new one made, and I'll get that welded on. But there are always things like this that make you feel good about yourself when you're trying to design something like this. It's like this was meant to be, this bolt that goes through that head on that ram. There's barely enough clearance to get that bolt in. I mean, there's other ways to do it. I could take the top plate loose, put the whole assembly in with it bolted in, but I thought that was pretty cool that just, it's like it was made, like I thought about that ahead of time, and I didn't, but it worked out great, so I was happy about that. Okay, I've got the new head welded on. I've got everything temporarily held in position with clamps and tack welds. And I think the next step is for me to go ahead and weld this bottom, or the top anvil in place. I've got it all clamped in position, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a couple of welds to hold it in place, and then I'll remove that ram and weld it up solid.